In this video, I will be using Flint Ridge chert and modern tools to make the Atlatl and dart. Okay, so we're in Vermont doing some primitive camping, and I figured I would make a Atlatl and dart set. I already napped out the point. I'm just gonna make a foreshaft to tie onto here, and then I'm gonna make the dart itself and stick the foreshaft into the dart. I'm gonna try using a little very primitive saw I just made to cut this recently dead sapling. And I think this would make a good dart. I'll bring this over to my campfire and work on it. This could be sharpened a little more, but I'll be back with this finished up. I found this somewhat recently dead birch tree, and I just snapped it here and here. I'm going to use this, I think, as my Atlatl. And I'll use this as the hook. I'll shave all this off, make it look nice. Use this as the hook to sit the end of the dart in, so that when I throw it, it'll get launched off of that. And I'll clip it here, and probably about here. I'll be doing that soon. This is going to be my foreshaft, and I'm just going to take the bark off of it. I'll use a stone flake just to peel the bark off and then start shaping it. So I'm going to put the point in here, and I'm going to taper this off to a point to stick into the dart. Continuing with the foreshaft, I'm just making this edge taper to a point. So what I'm going to try to do is use a little bit of saw bit of my knife to cut a V-notch in here. So because I used a dead wood, it split rather than being able to cut through it, but it should work. You just fit the point in like that and trim that to keep it against the rock. And that should be the foreshaft. So I shaved the edges to make it a little more flush against the rock. And since it's split down here, I'm going to try to use just regular wood glue. I don't really see any pines around. I don't want to damage the trees to try to get pitch out of it. So I'll just use the wood glue. I'll put it in here and right against the point. And then I'm going to chew up some elk sinew. Make sure it's all nice and soft and wrap it real tight around where I glued and around the point. And when this dries, it'll shrink and pull everything together and hopefully keep the foreshaft together. So I'm going to chew up the sinew, and this is, again, it's elk sinew, and I'm going to chew it up till it gets soft, and once it gets soft and stretchy, it has its own kind of natural glue, but it takes a little bit to get it out. You have to chew it. Alright, so once the sinew is ready, it'll be very stringy, very sticky. You're going to want strands like that. So I'll do the shorter one first. And I'm going to wrap this one near where the split started. Just to give it some extra support. I usually pull pretty tight as I wrap. I'm going to do another round on top of this, and to that point on the side here, I'll be wrapping straight to the tip. So I'm going to wrap from here to here now, and I might need more sinew. I'll show you what the sinew looks like. This would be the backstrap sinew of an elk, and you can just pull the fibers right off. Now before I did this, I ground the edges here and made it smooth so that the wrapping doesn't get cut, and those little ridges I left on there so that it would grab. But I'll start right at the base. Then I'll go under here, hold here, and start to wrap on the point. So now I'm just going to get more sinew to fill in these empty spots and to pull it together tighter while this all dries. So I finished wrapping it all the way up, and if you could see there, it's starting to dry, it's starting to turn clear. When it dries, it'll be kind of a yellow color, but you just have to leave this out in the air now. Let it air dry, and once that dries, that'll be held in there. That won't be going anywhere. So might have to shave down this end of the foreshaft a little bit more to fit into the throwing spear itself, the dart. So I'm going to have to thin this a little. It gets thicker as it goes down to the base, and that's a little too heavy to be a throwing spear. So I'm going to try to take some mass off of here and maybe straighten it out a little bit, and we'll see what we can do with it. So I drilled a hole in the spear, and I put some of that wood glue in there. I put the foreshaft in, and I wrapped this area with more sinew to reinforce that so it don't crack when it hits. This piece is thicker so that when it hits the target, this won't go into the target, but the whole dart will, and the dart will come out. Then you could reload. And I'm going to be working on the Atlatl. I'm going to cut it about here and right here, and then this is going to go, I'm going to sharpen this to a tip, and it's going to go in the end of the spear the same way. There's a hole there, there's going to be a hole on the other side, and that'll fit in here, and it'll be launched from that spot. So I'll trim this up a little more, and I'll clean off these nubs, and I'll sharpen that to a tip. What's going to happen is the dart will fit into the thrower. And when you throw it, it'll be launched by this piece. I'm going to use a little wood carving tool. Same way I made the hole in the front, I'm going to make a hole not as deep in the back. So now that I have a little hole there, that's where the Atlatl point will stick in to launch this. And I'm just going to wrap around here with sinew to reinforce it so that this don't split. Same thing I did up front. So I found two feathers. One of them's way longer than the other. So I'm just going to clip it at about the same length. Right about there. I'll just use a Norman Steel chert flake. Okay. So now I'm going to wrap them onto the back of the dart. The way I like to do this is just take a little bit of sinew, split it, and putting the feathers on will just give it a little bit of a stabilization when it's flying. And I just wrap right onto the feathers. It seems to hold it better than trying to cut right down to the middle of the feather. It gives it a little extra support. This is a pretty heavy duty throwing dart, so this will really would only be used for very short distances, maybe from the top of a hill straight down onto unsuspecting caribou. And I'll let that dry up, and then I get to go give it a test tomorrow. So now that I've got the dart completely put together, the spear thrower, the Atlatl, will fit right into the groove that I put into the back. I'll hold it like that. And the dart foreshaft is right in the front with the point on it. Now we'll aim for that bottle. We'll give it a try. I'm going to try a target that has a little bit more weight in it, so I filled the bottle with water. Because I think it was just kind of bouncing off as it was hitting. We'll do one more final test throw. So in experimenting with the Atlatl dart and foreshaft, I think I need to let the dart dry a little further for it to become stiffer, because it's still really flexible. It's not dry enough. This is probably correct. The only thing I could improve on this is to make a little rest for the dart to sit on instead of my fingers, which would make it more accurate. And in making this, I made it in Vermont, and around here in this area was Paleo Indians who used the same technology, and they would hunt caribou and other large game, mastodon, mammoths, and they did that right here with the same technology that I made today, 10,000 years later. That's it. Gonna test my Coastal Plains chert knife on some steak.
Looks like that's pretty well.